Opening the right channels on your Lightning Network routing node can mean the difference between routing a payment once in a blue moon and routing tens or even hundreds of payments every single day and earning thousands upon thousands of Satoshis. But where exactly are you supposed to learn how to choose and open the right channels? Because of the competitive nature of running a Lightning routing node, people are not exactly volunteering the information on what their best routing channels are. Well, stick around because in this video, I'm going to show you how I choose the channels that I open, how I validate which are channels worth opening and which are nodes that I want to partner with, and how I have gone to increasing my routing tenfold using this exact method. One of the most important things that you need to consider when building out your Lightning Network routing node, at least if you want to actually route some payments and earn some sats, is who you partner with. Not all nodes are created equal, and though I am a big fan of connecting to lesser connected nodes and doing Lightning liquidity swaps and all kinds of pleb-friendly actions, you have to face the facts that if you want to succeed in running a Lightning Network routing node, you need to know which channels to open, and you've got to open the right channels to the right nodes with the right capacity. Now, in the past, this has been really difficult, and each person has their own different method for choosing, and no one is really talking about or sharing how they choose those nodes. Well, in this video, I want to share with you the different tools that I use to open channels and decide which nodes I want to connect with so that you too can make the right decision for your node and connect to the channels that are going to be most beneficial to growing out your ranking and your routing. Now, the first tool that I want to share is one that I've talked about many times in different videos before, and unsurprisingly, it is Lightning Labs' very own terminal web. What I love about terminal web is a couple different things. First and foremost, if you are not a ranking node, what it will do is actually recommend to you what the correct nodes for you to partner with may be. So why don't we go ahead and choose a node that is perhaps a little bit lesser known, such as this one. If your node is not already ranked as good, you will be able to actually see recommendations for what nodes you should connect to. Now, one of the feedback items that I gave to the folks at Lightning Labs was that they should be, and hopefully one day they will offer, they haven't told me yes or no, but one day they will offer recommendations to you whether or not you're already a ranked node with a good rating. So that's a really, really valuable tool. But the main thing that I actually use terminal web for in this context of choosing channels is to go ahead and look at the rankings. Now, I know rankings are somewhat of an arbitrary number, and for this, you could also use the Boz list as well if you wanted to. But what I like about the terminal web rankings is it helps me understand the centrality of a given node, their capacity, and how old they are. So when I'm first looking for a channel to open or a node to open a channel to, I'll go through and I'll scroll and see which one of these I have not yet opened up a channel to. Let's look at HashQuark. That's pretty interesting. I haven't seen HashQuark's name, and one cool thing is they're not Breeze or CoinGate or a big company, but let's see. LN Markets, that looks pretty interesting, and they have 22.7 Bitcoin capacity. That's pretty good. Nice hash, 14 months old, but 95th percentile, they are in the top 20. All right, well, why don't we go ahead and look at nice hash? That's pretty cool. So why don't we go in here? And the first things that I'll just take note of are the things I've already mentioned. I'll look at their age, I'll look at their centrality, and I'll look at their ranking. They're rated as good. They have 37 other good peers, which means I get an extra connection to those folks by a hop, one hop. And I can just see and evaluate who are the good nodes that they're connected to. I like this because a lot of these are ones that my node is not connected to. In fact, I'm not connected to most of these, so I indirectly get a connection to all of these nodes by opening to NiceHash. So that's pretty good. Again, the main thing I'm looking at here is just the ranking to get ideas for what are the nodes that I could open to. If you browse on 1ML or Amboss, you'll notice that there's no lists or rankings unless you're looking at the communities feature of Amboss, so it can be hard to get a list of nodes to try and pick out. So really what I'll just do, first I'm going to copy this here. I'll just use this list to get some ideas for different nodes that I might want to open to. Now, while I'm looking here, one of the things that I want to point out is I actually try to support businesses that I appreciate what they're doing. I try not to pair with shitcoin companies. And generally speaking, I'll try to open to vendors such as Bitrefill, who are actually providing a service to the Bitcoin community. One, for philosophical reasons, but also because I want to get involved in their commerce. If they're doing a lot of transactions on Lightning, I want to be a part of that and I want to earn from that. And just generally speaking, I try to partner with people who I want to support and I want to see them grow. NiceHash, I know, is a mining company. I think mining is really important, obviously, for the Bitcoin community. I don't really want to support CoinGate because they're charging a percentage to do Bitcoin transactions, and I kind of believe that Bitcoin transactions should be peer-to-peer, non-custodial. So why don't we just focus in on NiceHash? That's essentially what we want to use Terminal Web for, is getting a list of ideas, unless we're looking at the list of recommendations for us, just a list of ideas of nodes that I might want to connect to. The next tool I want to share really quickly is probably not one that I would rely on too much, but nonetheless is worth looking at, and that is this Moneni Nodematch. One thing that's really cool about this is it'll allow you to look up your node. I'm going to put in the NiceHash node, and it'll show you all the potential peers that you could partner with, and it'll actually tell you how many additional hops you will create by connecting to those nodes. So you can see here that if I were NiceHash, I could connect to async and create 62 more nodes with 3 hops and many, many more nodes. Something blocking my screen here, but many more nodes with 1 hop, and on and on and on. Now, the warning I want to give you about this tool is that it does not take into consideration capacities or balances, but just focuses on minimal number of hops. And that's why I actually don't recommend that you use this in order to choose the next right channel, because you can be led astray and those channels may not route very much because fee policies and balances are not taken into consideration. However, with all other things considered, it is worth looking at to get more ideas for things that you could open up channels to, but you still need to go through all these other steps and understand, with all the other tools that I'm going to show you, the impact of actually opening up that channel. Now, the next tool is another one that I've talked about. In fact, I've done an entire video just on how to use this tool, but in the context of choosing the right node, we're going to be using it a little bit differently. And that tool is Amboss.space. Now, by coming over to Amboss, I'm going to go ahead and take this node's pub key, which I've copied, and search. Now, why switch from one explorer to another? Why Amboss and not 1ML or Fiat Jaf? And the answer is very simple. Amboss gives me the information that I need and gives me information that no other explorer that I know provides me with, and gives it to me in a very, very simple format. First thing, I can see that it's a BOS node. That's really, really good. That means that the folks developing Lightning Network, Lightning Labs, have ranked this node and they like it. I can also see what is their oldest channel and their youngest channel. I can see their average channel, so they are not like some other companies that are constantly closing your channel if you deplete the channel or if the channel gets unbalanced. That's great. I can see that they do not have Wumbo enabled, so 16.7 is the biggest channel. Probably that means it's the biggest channel they can accept. I can see the average channel size. All that is really, really great. I want to see their growth and capacity. I want to make sure that they're a growing node. It means that more people are connecting to them. But here are the parts that really, really interest me. I want to understand what people are charging to work with them and what they are charging. So their ratio here, I can see of outgoing to incoming, what is the fee? I can also understand by looking at these statistics, how much are people charging to work with them? And that will help me understand a little bit as to whether or not they're a liquidity sink, meaning do they flow traffic both ways, or are people finding, and in the case here of 773, yeah, this is probably a liquidity sink, meaning that my sats are probably going to go in one direction and not come back. If that weren't the case, people probably wouldn't be raising the fees so high that the weighted average would be 773. At the same time, averages are not very good at understanding, so we probably want to look at the median, which is 100, because you can see someone here has over 1 million ppm, which is throwing the average off. What we can then do is scroll down and understand who are opening big channels to them and how big are those channels. that helps me understand, if other big, well-respected nodes who know their way around Lightning Network are opening big channels, that's a pretty good sign that this is a really great routing node that does a lot of routing and a lot of traffic. Otherwise, they wouldn't maintain big channels to them. Now, I don't consider a 16 million channel to be very big, but clearly Wumbo is not enabled on this node. And I'm seeing a lot of really great Lightning Network nodes that I respect: Wallet of Satoshi, BFX, CoinGate, I guess, Y'alls. They have nice big channels with this. That tells me this is a great node to connect with. And now let's get to the most interesting part, which is looking a little bit at the age of the channels and the fees. I can see one thing that's really interesting is NiceHash is charging 1 base and 1 ppm. That is nothing. So it tells me this is going to be a really easy channel to rebalance, most likely, because they're not going to charge on their piece of the circular rebalance to forward to me. That's fantastic. Now let's get a feel for what peers think about them. I can see, some people are charging 2,000. Most people are charging 250, up to 500, 1,000. But these aren't crazy numbers. They're also not very low numbers. So that's kind of telling me that more traffic is going to go out on this, I would estimate. Again, this is more of an art than a science. But I would estimate that the traffic is going to go more outbound than inbound, and I am going to have to rebalance this channel or pay to rebalance. It's probably not going to flow a lot of Satoshis back in my direction. I can also get a feel for the age of the channels. The reason I like to do that is just to understand, is this node building long-term relationships, or are they like Loop or other liquidity sinks that's just going to close the channel on me to get the Satoshis back on chain? And I can see here a lot of new channels are opening, but they also have channels that have been open for over a year, which is phenomenal. At the time of this recording, Lightning Network is growing so rapidly, a year-old channel is phenomenal. So that's what we are using Amboss.space for. I can get a little bit of insight on closed channels, but some of that data is usually not very up to date. And that's it. That's what we use Amboss for. I am now more convinced than I was before that this is a great node to open to. It has great fee policies, has a lot of healthy channels, a lot of people opening channels to them. They're growing. They keep channels open. So far, so good. All right, so now we have a node that we are looking at opening up to. We have an idea of what the routing policies are, and now we want to see what would actually happen if we opened up a channel to that node. And that's where yet another tool that I've talked about before comes into play. That is LNNodeInsight.com. There are 3 different tools at the time of this recording for LNNodeInsight, but the one that's most relevant for us here is actually the simulator tool. It's under Applications, Channel Simulator. This is a really, really cool tool because what we can do is put in a particular alias or find one if we wanted to. For example, why don't we go ahead and look at TorGuard VPN. And then we can simulate what's going to happen if we put in a channel to the NiceHash channel that we found before. We can then add filters if we want to, and hit start. Running simulation. LNNodeInsight is then going to create a simulation of you opening up a channel to that node, and then what it's going to do is tell you the effect on your node. It will tell you your betweenness centrality rank and how it was impacted. It will tell you your eigenvector centrality score or centralization, and it will tell you your closeness centralization. Now, it does seem that I have chosen a poor example because there is no change here whatsoever. So why don't we try another node that does not have a connection? All right, let's try this one. Running simulation. Please wait. Ha! Ta-da! So now we've actually found someone who does not have a channel connected to the node NiceHash, the Lorax, and we can see that for this node, simply adding a channel to NiceHash is going to create an additional 17 in their centrality rank. They are going to gain 6 in their eigenvector centrality rank. I still don't know where that name came from. And they can gain 22 by connecting and creating. In other words, it's a really, really good idea to connect NiceHash if you are out there and you are running the Lorax. What I like about this tool is it allows you to understand the actual impact of connecting a specific channel or removing one in order to see if it is worth your time and Satoshis, and you don't have to trial and error and see if that actually makes an impact and if it actually routes. Now, of course, none of these ratings or metrics are any kind of guarantee that you're going to actually route through that channel. That depends on many variables such as your fee structure and the fee structure of other nodes connected, but it is a good idea to run through these and get a rough estimation of how it is going to improve your node's ranking and centrality, which is a good indicator that is somewhat positively correlated with your ability to route. So Lorax, if you are out there, you probably want to open up a channel to NiceHash. Now, one last tool that I want to share with you all before I let you go, and I will warn you because this is actually a paid tool unlike so many others on the Lightning Sphere, but this is a new one called LNRouter. And the idea is a very simple one. All you have to do is sign up and it will give you a full report. You can see AZ Hodl here is a satisfied customer. A full report of all the different things that you may want to know about a specific node. So let's go ahead and sign up. I see they have a nice little special right now. And what you will have to do is sign the following message with your node's private key and paste it below. Well, why don't we go ahead and go off camera for a moment and we'll do exactly that. All right, we are back, and if you are curious how I did that signing procedure, you can go ahead and check out my tutorial video on Amboss.space, where I actually explain exactly how you can sign a message and therefore log into Amboss. This is the exact same process here for signing in to LNRouter. Now let's go ahead and grab that node ID of NiceHash because we want to go ahead and get a report. All right. Let's go ahead and put in an alias or pub key, NiceHash, and let's click. And it looks like we need to top up our balance. All right, let's go ahead and do that. And I think we will deposit 500 Satoshis because I don't know how many reports like this I plan to run. And let's go ahead and copy that invoice. And off screen here, I will go ahead and send. There's the invoice. Max fee of 1, max paths, all right, and pay. All right, payment set. Man, that is lightning fast. All right, great, here we go. Now let's go ahead and do that lookup. So we'll go ahead and get the NiceHash pub key, although we could just type in NiceHash. Let's do that, NiceHash. And let's go ahead and get a report. It'll tell us that it has recent data and it's tested 50 of the 400 channels. I can see just how balanced, how much inbound and how much outbound they have. So I can see here they actually have a ton of outbound, which means that if I provide them with more inbound, then they will probably use it and benefit from it. So that is very, very beneficial. Now, what's different about this LNRouter app is it's actually doing test payments, and it will show you the data in a transparent fashion. So you can actually see, unlike Terminal Web, which is doing test payments but is not giving you that data, you can actually see how balanced those channels are. And this is especially helpful if you want to get a feel for the kind of traffic that is moving through. You kind of want to understand what can move in what way, who is providing traffic to them, and what they are charging to provide that inbound or outbound. Now, what's really interesting here is I can look and just see some of their balance channels, and I can see some of their outbound channels. So they have a ton of outbound liquidity to Brock, and the fee is $7.85. They have a ton of outbound, and they're, oh, not a ton. They have exhausted. They cannot route 100,000 sats in this direction to wallet of Satoshi. So I would have to go into this a little bit deeper and understand it a little bit deeper, especially looking at the channels that I have versus the channels that they have, and the liquidity that I have versus the channels or the liquidity that they have. However, it is valuable to understand, am I going to be able to provide them some liquidity that they don't already have, which therefore means that they would probably route through me. In addition, we have a lovely distribution graph showing the fee distribution in a similar way to Amboss.space. However, here I can see where it breaks down, and it's not just a median or an average. So that can be really, really helpful. I can see here that most people are charging 400 to 419. That is the most valuable in terms of capacity and sats. That is the most common value for their PPM, which means I probably want to set my value and fee to that. I wouldn't have known that most likely if I hadn't purchased this report. I probably would have gone with Amboss, which said that the weighted average was 1,000, or said that the median was somewhere in the 200s. So it's good to know that I actually probably can get 400 ppm for this channel. Now, I will go ahead and say that this report so far is not a huge amount more value. It's probably worth 500 Satoshis to you, but not a whole lot more. And I know they were charging 2,000 Satoshis a little bit before I recorded this. But if you're really cautious about your Satoshis and you don't want to open a channel with someone until you really understand the flows and dynamics of their liquidity, then this may be worth the 500 Satoshis. Don't in any way feel that this is a necessary or required step in this process, because you can get the majority of this information more or less on Amboss.space and the other tools that I have given you. But it is nice to know that they are running actual test payments for you and will actually show you what they've found about all the different channels. And I will add that if you do want to open the channel and then immediately rebalance it, it's really nice to know which nodes you can rebalance through by checking which directions they have liquidity and what the fees are on one screen. Now, personally, I don't really believe in paying to rebalance. I'd rather set my fees, but that is a totally different topic for a totally different video. So there you have it. That's my method for flushing and sussing out different nodes that I may want to open a channel to. I really hope you've enjoyed this video, and if you have, please make sure to check out my playlist of other Lightning Network videos and tutorials. And while you're at it, I would love if you took a moment to like, subscribe, and comment. Especially subscribe, because we're trying to get to 1,000 subs where we can unlock all kinds of new valuable features for you.